What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Monday night, January 9th, 2023. It's about 8:56 p.m. here along the West Coast in California, where we're drying out a little bit today, but we got more rain coming in tonight and tomorrow, and of course over the next few days or so. The latest earthquake shows a 1.1 earthquake into the California region here along the West Coast. Definitely soggy out here. All right, we're starting off with space weather tonight because things are ramping up significantly with quite a few sunspots that are currently facing the Earth. We did have a very strong X flare kick off earlier today, an X 1.9. That is the second strongest flare in the solar cycle, which began back in 2020, solar cycle 25. So things are ramping up. Also being issued here is a rare 35% chance for an X flare. That's very elevated, and we have numerous sunspots that does harbor potential for some X flare probability. Of course, 3184 is the one that produced the X flare today. That is currently on the southeastern limb here of the sun, not directly in view far as the Earth side goes, Earth-facing side, but we do have 3182 and 3181 that we need to watch pretty closely as well. Both of these Earth-facing sunspots have a very good chance of seeing an X flare as well. Down here, this regional sunspot did produce somewhat of a large M flare earlier this evening, I should say. So we've seen 3181, which is that one spot I just showed you there, produce a M2.6 flare. And all of these sunspots right here that are within view of Earth harbor some potential for some strong flaring. Now, 3182 is a large sunspot, obviously a large sunspot facing Earth. That is the one to watch currently for any geo-effective activity. Say this thing produces a strong X flare along with a subsequent CME, then that will change things up a little bit as far as any 3-day geomagnetic forecast goes. But we're watching these. We got 3 large sunspots, and they are popping and crackling like crazy. I believe they do harbor some strong potential for some X flares. Now, a look at the most recent, looks like another flare kicking off up here into this region. This area up northeastern area, goodness, this image looks a little scary because everything around the Earth-facing side of the sun is very active and very bright, meaning that things are crackling like crazy. This sunspot up there that I showed you is a new regional sunspot. It hasn't been named yet, but more than likely it's going to be named 3186, I believe, or 3187, depends on which one they get to here. But this one's creating a little bit of crazy imagery on the other solar image here. A lot of plasma shooting out from around this sunspot, massive plasma arc, so to speak. Here's one that was taken just a little bit ago. Just a lot of plasma shooting off from the surface of the sun. And I think it's worth noting, there's the X flare from earlier, the X 1.9. Kicked off pretty nicely. About the same time, there was another flare up here on that northeastern section. But I think it's definitely noteworthy to say that we may see a very strong Earth-directed flare here in the near future with these regional sunspots facing us. So currently, again, 99% certainty of a C flare, 70% chance for an M flare. Elevated conditions there with the X flare probability and proton event up there around 15% as well. The latest imagery here on the graph shows that X 1.9 kicking off here earlier today. Since then, we've seen a couple strong M flares. In M 5.1 it looks like, and also another M flare here recently. And this is all elevated. Notice that crackling here. We're well within the C flare category. And kind of crackling here with C flares and M flares. This is a good time to take note of how this trend does tend to uptick a little bit but I wouldn't doubt it to see some more X flares overnight. We'll watch that pretty closely here. Now, the current conditions here on the beta, or at least on the solar magnetic structure, shows 3182 and 3181 both harbor a beta gamma delta class, which harbors some strong potential here for some strong flaring. 3182 also is that massive sunspot here that harbors a 10% chance for an X flare. But I think the most active sunspot region is going to be 3184. That is the one that did produce the X flare today, and that harbors a 15% chance. So right now they're only showing it as an alpha magnetic structure. It does look like it's growing. It's getting quite a bit of instability there amongst its structure in the sunspot areas down here. So we'll continue to watch that as the hours go on. But I wouldn't doubt it if we see an X flare again very, very soon. The 3-day geomagnetic forecast looks fairly calm. Not a whole lot expected here across the board unless we get some Earth-directed CMEs. Let's see. Second largest solar flare, cycle 25, in terms of peak X-ray flux, was just observed around AR 3184. Was an impulsive X1.9 flare. It does not look to be associated with the coronal mass ejection when viewing in the latest imagery. So, of course, even if it was, that was not Earth-directed. So we're not looking at any type of geomagnetic storming conditions from that flare. Just radio blackouts when that happens. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's go ahead and check out earthquake activity across the map, and things are, things are still scooting along. Latest activity here across the region shows some movement still in the area where we've seen that 7.6 in Indonesia this morning. Quite a few aftershocks occurring within this area. Also building back some not large, but deep earthquakes here around Fiji once again. Had a 4.5 coming in this afternoon time period, about 500 kilometers deep. Now this 4.4 down here, 600 kilometers deep almost, occurred prior to the activity here in Indonesia. So a lot of deeper movement taking place here into the Fiji area, the Tonga Trench, but very minimal adjustment upstream. And not 100% certain that we'll see any further large-scale activity up here, but we'll watch that. Remember last month we had quite a few 6s and 7s in this area upstream, so I don't know if there's enough stress built up here for some further large-scale activity. So that westward pressure movement and the migration of the stress has scooted west, not only with that 7.6, but that 7.0 that we've seen here in the Vanuatu area yesterday. Or the day before. It's been a couple days now. So we'll continue to watch this. New Zealand area, not really showing too much activity down here currently. Look at the models here on the EMSC globe. Shows it looks like a 3.4. Somewhat deep there into the Hikurangi subduction zone. So let's go ahead and go over here to the GeoNet servers as we see what's going on here today. 4.0 South Island area. Looks like about 5 hours ago. Let me go over here to the all magnitudes just to reassess what's going on. A couple smaller quakes within the last couple hours. No major movement. There's that 4.0. Trying to see here. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything major going on currently in New Zealand, but it's down there along a very sensitive area of the plate. So we got to watch that pretty closely there, potentially for some further large-scale activity. Eventually, it's going to catch up. There is I believe that's going to be the 7. Is that going to be the 7.6? Yeah, I believe so. That kicked off there in the Indonesia region. Pretty strong signature there showing up on the drums, volcanic drums there in New Zealand. All right, let's see what else we got here. A little bit of activity across the region of the Red Sea. Getting some activity out here. 4.9 and a 4.8 coming in today. About 10 kilometers deep. And a little bit of movement up here around the Mediterranean and the Sea of Crete. A couple of 4s over the last 24 hours. No major movement across the Atlantic currently. A little bit of spotty activity across Puerto Rico again. A look at the states as we zoom into the New Madrid zone. Looks like we had a 1.4 and a 1.6 over the last 24 hours. Definitely seen a little bit of uptick here over the last week or so. Quick glance at the 7 days all magnitudes map here. Shows that somewhat heightened activity here. About 8 earthquakes in the New Madrid zone. The strongest earthquake, I believe, was at 2.5 that occurred down there in the Tennessee area. All right, a little spotty activity throughout Texas, Wyoming. Not a whole lot going on in Yellowstone. Let me check out Yellowstone here and see what we got. There is the signature of the 7.6 earthquake in the Indonesia region. Was a very drawn-out earthquake. Notice that seismic wave stretching for quite a while on the timestamps. And that did show up across a good portion of the area seismographs. Some not showing it, though, so that tells me right there that things are tuned down in certain areas. But as far as local activity goes, there's not a whole lot going on there at Yellowstone as far as the seismograph readings show. Up into the Pacific Northwest, where we've been getting all your rain here in California. I know you guys definitely been getting rainfall as well, but it seems like we've been taking at least a good portion of it. A couple of small earthquakes up there into the area of the Cascades. Nothing major going on currently. A quick glance at the Cascadia subduction zone tremor map shows 259 epicenters around the Vancouver Island range up there in north, and around Medford, Oregon once again, southern Oregon. A little bit of tremor along the Cascadia. All right, Northern California activity over here around the Quincy area, just off Highway 89. A couple earthquakes coming in there this morning. Looks like a 2.9 near Greenhorn. Never even heard of that here in California. Clear Lake volcanic fields rocking and rolling like crazy, but that is due to, the Calpine hydrothermal operations here, and the satellite imagery will give us a little bit better perspective of what's going on down below here. There's quite a few there's little operations here that inject raw sewage below to create steam. It creates steam and also creates energy at the same time that powers up quite a few homes in the Bay Area. So a little bit of fun stuff going on there, I would say. One earthquake there on the Calaveras fault zone. It looks like, Calaveras fault zone, a 2.2 near Morgan Hill. Now remember, got to watch these areas. I keep saying this because we've had a lot of rainfall in California, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to soak down into these stressed fault zones to lubricate them and release some of the stress that's been building up. So watch that pretty closely here along the West Coast. No major activity currently. There is a little bit of activity along the San Jacinto fault zone, kicking off in a little swarm fashion. 3.2 outside of the Borrego Springs area, along with some other small microquakes. La Quinta area looks like a 1.1. Southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, like literally right on it, got a 1.1 earlier today. 9.7 kilometers deep. One earthquake in San Diego. It's been a while since we've seen activity in San Diego there. 1.2. Now, I know we did have a little bit of activity in Los Angeles, but the USGS is not showing it. Actually got a little notification there from the earthquake app that it was a very small microquake in the greater Los Angeles area here earlier tonight, but nothing showing up there on the map. All right, let's see, what else do we have here across the region? The big island of Hawaii, still continuing out here. I'll give a quick glance here at the volcano map. Volcano hazards and see what we have. I believe Kilauea volcano is still continuing to erupt, but we're going to double check that. Maybe. There we go. Still underneath an orange and watch level far as the Kilauea volcano goes on the Big Island. Maybe, perhaps. It's been a little slow here recently. I'm not for sure why that's happening there at the USGS, but it is. Excuse me. Goodness. Hello, McFly. All right, nothing going on there. So, all right. I can't get that to load up. I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. There is a volcano over here around the Mariana Islands, around the Mariana Trench. What is it? Aihai? I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it. I did a little bit ago, and then I completely spaced it off. Either way, a little bit of volcano activity here with this undersea volcano, underwater seamount, I should say. And of course, they're not going to let me see it for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Okay, now Kilauea wants to work. It's a little weird. It's almost like they put a little pause in my connectivity. All right, let's go ahead and check out Kilauea Volcano. Not a whole lot of seismic activity occurring there currently, but I believe things are still, well, erupting. The latest update here from the USGS, if they're going to let me. Here we go with the pause again. Goodness. Alrighty. I don't know what's going on here tonight. A little odd. There we go. Looks like the eruption has continued over the past 24 hours, and all eruptive activity has been confined to the crater. No major changes noted here. Looks like volcanic tremor remains above background levels. Sulfur dioxide emission rates of approximately 4,000 tons per day was measured. But aside from that, no major changes being noted there across the area. Now the seamount out here, they've been having a little bit of activity kicking up. I think I'm going to go to a different site here, see if I can access this. Here we go. So the seamount has been kind of showing some activity, I'd say, since about early November or so. The most recent update here on this seamount in the Mariana Islands region shows underwater pressure sensors at Wake Island are currently experiencing a data outage, surprisingly. However, signals consistent with possible explosions from the seamount has been recorded prior to the data outage and are likely continuing. Looks like a plume of discolored water originating from the summit region of the seamount was seen in partly cloudy satellite imagery from January 8th. So there are no local monitoring stations near the seamount, which limits the ability to detect and characterize volcanic unrest. That's great. That's not great. So we got an underwater volcano out there showing some signs of, well, inflation and some explosions underneath. And there's not a whole lot of data to go off of in terms of monitoring this seamount out in the Mariana Islands. But it is in an area that has not seen much volcanic activity. We are expecting, definitely expecting some movement here soon. It's been in our quiet zone in one of our watch areas. Looks like there was a 4.6 earlier today, Mariana Islands, but I don't believe that's anywhere near the volcano, just way down deep, 124 kilometers into the trench. All right, let's see what else is there, folks. I think that's about it for earthquake activity. A quick glance here at the weather models. I do like to go over these because it is a kind of a concern right now. Got a lot of standing water, and here in the Sacramento Valley area, river up there around the close to the Hamilton City area and upstream is getting very close to the flood stage. We still have more rainfall coming in over the next few days. We're going to take a look at that. We got rainfall coming in here tonight, I believe about 4 o'clock in the morning. Supposed to pick up some more additional rainfall amounts here, more snowfall in the higher elevations. Now these are generally light, probably expecting around half an inch or so on top of the activity that we've seen. Any rain on top of the soggy grounds are going to accumulate and run off. But here's some further rain coming in Wednesday and Thursday. Some significant rainfall along the coastlines there with those impressive rainfall rates. And it looks like in the Sacramento Valley, again, going to get hammered come around the Friday time period. Now, there's another storm back behind that. This seems to be the consistent flow on Saturday with another strong system. And generally rain over the next week or so. Now, I was watching this high pressure system here in the Great Basin area, north into the Intermountain West regions, potentially creating some dry conditions here for California. And it looks as though it's still staying somewhat steady here. Right around the 20th, 19th or 20th time frame, that high pressure is going to make that jet stream kind of scoot north and scoot the storm track north and keep California dry a little bit. Now, this is always subject to change, but that's kind of what it looks like currently here on that map. Let me check this one here as well. Probably about the same thing. January 20th, 24th. Yeah, it looks like for the most part that storm track is going to be into Oregon and Washington. And when we get these ridges out here along the west coast, that will obviously bring troughs of colder winter weather down into the other portion of the country here. Looks like some snow kicking in where winter's been lacking somewhat down around the looks like maybe Colorado area into portions of the Panhandle, Texas area. But again, this is all subject to change. It's a ways out. But either way, I know we do have some potential further flooding concerns here along the west coast with the continual pattern here for at least this week, this weekend coming in, and potentially early next week here. Let's see here. We still have some activity coming in early next week. So it's a wet one out there, folks, let me tell you. And that's okay. We can definitely use it. All right, let's see what else do we have. Another quick glance here at the space weather activity. I still think we're going to see an X flare very soon with that ongoing activity. Beautiful image there of the plasma. Quite a bit of eruption of this area around this sunspot. So we'll watch that area pretty closely. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here real quick, and I don't know if I'm going to call it a night. It's kind of early. Maybe watch a movie here with Missy Mimi's, and then we'll call it a night. But either way, have a good night, folks. Appreciate all the comments out there. Welcome to the new members that have joined here on the channel. And, of course, coming up here in about, what do we got, 6 days or so. I'm going to be doing the member-only drawing. Win some prizes out here. So get in on board if you want a chance to win this month. Coming up here in about 6 days. We'll catch you guys a little bit later. Have a beautiful evening. We'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. Peace out.